Ground Athletics. Hi, I'm Kirsten, your self-proclaimed fitness princess, and today's video is going to be a good old-fashioned Run Disney Q&A. I think maybe I take my Run Disney race experience a little bit for granted. If you can't tell, I've done a ton of them. I pretty much know what I'm doing every race I go to. I know a lot of you are brand new Run Disney racers, or maybe you're going for further distances for your first time, half marathons, full marathons. So I figured I needed to reach out to you guys and figure out what you're really worried about and thinking about before Run Disney race season is kicking off in a couple weeks. I went on the Ground Athletics Instagram, which you should be following if you're not, and asked you guys what you want to know. Before we get started, if you want to continue to learn more about Run Disney, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Okay, so the first question is how to lose or ease your nerves before race day. I'm assuming this means this is your first race. My answer to that is definitely go watch all my videos on Run Disney tips and tricks, specifically my one about things to do the day before your race. It'll really set you up for success. Kidding aside though, I think the best tip that I have is to get a really good night's sleep, and with that, I rely on good old melatonin and 5-HTP. I am not a good sleeper at all. It takes me so much to fall asleep, and the night before my first full marathon I got like 4 hours of sleep, and I was just lying there willing myself to sleep because I was so nervous and I knew that I needed rest to be able to run, and I was so scared. So if you can get a good night's sleep, it's gonna make you feel a lot better on race morning. I've also learned to bring a little travel mini fan with me to pretty much anywhere I go nowadays. I sleep with a fan at home. I'm really used to the white noise, so I've decided I just need to bring that everywhere I go. You can also get the white noise app on your phone if you forget a fan, but I love the sound of an actual fan and maybe a little bit of the air blowing on my face as I'm falling asleep. So for these Run Disney races, usually we're traveling out of town for them, so try to bring the things that make you feel the most comfortable at home with you on your trip. Next question, what do I carry with me during the race? So this has changed over the years as I've kind of gotten more used to it. I am definitely an overpacker. I used to bring like a full race belt with everything in it for any scenario. Now I've got it down to just shorts with pockets on the side, and I'm able to bring everything in that. What I actually bring is my fuel. I definitely bring my credit card and my ID and my phone. Those are definitely the most important, and your magic band. I actually got one of these little holders for my magic band on Etsy, so it just holds it in there and then I can attach it to my Garmin. So then I only have to have this on my wrist and not both things since I'm running with my Garmin watch. Then I always bring backup safety pins because sometimes your costume might start falling apart and you can just pin it back on real quick. Those are very necessary. I used to bring all different kinds of like medications with me, but there's tons of medical tents on the race course and they have Tylenol if you need it, so you can just go up to them and they'll give it to you, so I don't bring that anymore. If it's a marathon, I will bring salt packets because you lose a lot of salt when you sweat and you kind of want to replenish that. It'll give you a little bit of boost of energy, so I just grab the little ones from the quick service restaurants and just throw those in. And then my biggest thing that everyone should bring, and I actually learned this from another Run Disney racer, is to bring one of those little folding reusable bags. I get mine at the dollar store. It's just one of those little folding bags that rolls up really small, and I can put it in my side pocket because they give you so much stuff at the end of your race. They give you a water, a Gatorade, a box, a banana. You might have stuff that you were carrying with you that you just don't want to carry anymore, and you can unfold that and just load it in. I have one that comes in like a little tiny pouch with a snap. It's the perfect size to put my credit card, my ID, my safety pins, everything I need in there with the little foldy bag, and then I can just put it in my side pocket and it all stays together. I think that's it. I think that's all I bring. Next question, how do you pass the time waiting in the corrals? I was actually gonna make a full video on this. There's a bunch of different things you can do. I do a lot of these races on my own. Sometimes I have friends with me and we can hang out before we go into our corral. I think the best thing that you can do while you're actually in your corral waiting, because you do want to get there early so you're not rushed trying to get there before the race starts, but the best thing you can do is stretch. I find a space over to the side. I don't really crowd myself up to the very front, and I just stretch for the entire time that we're there until we have to stand up and start moving to start the race. Sometimes you're even there for maybe an hour. I just stretch the whole time. It feels awesome. Ooh, this is a good question. Maybe my favorite question. Best places around the resort to celebrate after you run your race at Princess Weekend. Let's set the scene. You just finished the Princess Half Marathon. You're gonna go back to your room, do all your recovery like you're supposed to, because then that's gonna make you have a much more fun day. I personally don't like to make lunch reservations after a longer race because then you're kind of rushing to get to them, and you wanna make sure that you're fully recovering, showering, getting ready nice and slow. So I usually just get food at the resort at like a quick service place. So now you're ready, you've taken your time, you're gonna mosey your way over to Epcot, obviously, because now we need to get some celebratory drinks. I personally love champagne, so I usually start on the Canada side and go over to France real quick and get my glass of champagne to cheers with my friends. Then we spend the day just wandering around Epcot, congratulating other racers, making new friends because we all have our medals on. Then you definitely want to make an awesome dinner reservation for that night. And I'm talking like fancy. Let's go to Coral Reef, Le Cellier, Monsieur Paul, take a nice long dinner with your friends, maybe like 2 hours, get every course, cheers every drink that you get because we're celebrating. Then we finish dinner, maybe it was an early dinner, and we'll walk out the International Gateway over to the boardwalk, my favorite spot in all of Walt Disney World, for the sunset. Walk around there, maybe get some ice cream, and then we're gonna finish the night at Jelly Rolls. Sunday nights are cast member nights, so it's usually much more crowded, but way more fun because there's a lot of people in there. And they're all cast members, so they love requesting Disney songs. And we'll just sing our hearts out, celebrating our race. You'll see tons of racers in Jelly Rolls after. That's what I'll be doing. Next question, how do you keep your pace but still meet characters along the course? That's a tricky one for me because I really haven't done character meet and greets. I see that long line and I don't want to wait in it. I have met characters in the marathon in Epcot because Epcot is your last mile of the race. Everyone's really tired and they just want to finish. There's no lines for them, but especially the beginning couple characters, the lines are so long and I never wait for them, so I'm not really sure I have a good answer. I know a lot of people tend to like run from character to character. I personally very much believe in my intervals, and that's kind of my key to success of finishing. So if I like run really fast and then stop for a character, I'm gonna get tired and thrown off of my game. So maybe pick like 1 or 2 and figure out the ones that you absolutely want and stop for those, and then maybe just skip the others. I don't know. I feel like I'm not giving a very good answer. Here's a good question. How do I decide who to dress up as? Well, if you watch my very first video I ever made about how to make a RunDisney race costume, I kind of talk about how I go through my process of picking who I'm going to dress as. I usually like to stick with the theme of the race so that it's kind of fresh on people's minds who I'm running as. Also, if it's a mashup, definitely on theme. You really only have like 2 seconds to get people's attention for them to figure out who you are, so you want it to be pretty apparent. I've done some weird ones though where people just don't understand, and they were for me. Those were my costumes. You can also check out crownedathletics.com for all of our outfits and then choose from one of those. Shameless plug. But yeah, you can't go wrong. It's a RunDisney race. All Disney characters are welcome and you're gonna look awesome. Okay, next question is how to make the long stretches of highway bearable. I think first is knowing where they are. I like to really look at the course map and figure out, okay, where is this gonna be boring? Because if I'm surprised by it, then I'm just kind of wondering like, when is it gonna be over? But if I know exactly what miles it's gonna be, I can kind of prepare for that. I also really just like hunker down into my intervals. This is what I trained for. These spots are the most boring, but this is where I am going to show kind of what I'm made of. So I really like to stick to my intervals and like prove that I did it. I personally don't like wearing headphones during my races. I like to hear everything that's going on.
That's a lot of sombreros, I'm just saying.
And that includes the highway stretches. I run these by myself, so I don't have anyone to chat with, but I like kind of hearing other people chatting and listening to their conversations. Sometimes if they're pretty close by and talking about something, I might kind of chuckle along with them and then maybe strike up a conversation, then I have someone to run with. Just stay focused. It'll be over sooner than you know it, and just keep going. Ooh, this person is doing their first half marathon at RunDisney. Yay! I'm so excited for you. So they want to know some training advice and also just how to be more confident leading up to race day. stick to your training. The more you feel like you stuck to your training, the more confident you're gonna feel going up to race day. It's just like studying for a test. The more you prepare for it, the better you're gonna feel. Keep testing all your stuff too, like your fuel, your costume, just test running and everything so you don't feel like anything's super new to you on actual race day. That definitely helps me feel much more confident. And mostly just try to be really excited about it. It's gonna be an amazing accomplishment. Just try to think of future you on the other side of the race, wearing your medal, just kind of like envision it, and it'll help you feel more excited for actual race day. Costumes, anything costume related. Ooh, okay. I love running in costume. I've done a lot of them. They started out kind of small, then some of them gotten a little bit weird, and then we're kind of somewhere in between now. It's hard to say my favorite. I do have like a couple favorites, so usually like the bigger ones. The first weird one I ever did was a human-sized dingle hopper. It was my first Walt Disney World race, which was really exciting. It was the Princess Half Marathon, and it was Little Mermaid theme, which my girl. And so I had to do something that was on theme with that. I don't know where I came up with this idea, but I was like, I want to be a giant fork. And then to really nail it on the head, I roped red hair extensions through the prongs. I got some people thinking I was Beauty and the Beast, but most people knew I was a dingle hopper, and it was hilarious. Also, which started me not wearing headphones when I would do races, because then I could hear people talking about me as I ran by, which made it a lot more fun for me and them. I think my most favorite costume, it's really tied between my two marathon costumes. I did RunDisney Mini, which was a dream costume of mine for my first marathon. It was super comfortable and easy to run in, and also so cute. I was so glad that Minnie was at the finish line, because they do switch out between Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy, I think. And I was so nervous that she wouldn't be there, and she was, and she freaked out when she saw me running up. She like fully jumped up into the air. We have amazing PhotoPass pictures from that moment. And so obviously it's my first marathon. That one's gonna be really special to me. But my second marathon, which was part of the Goofy Challenge, which I can't even believe I did that. I did a 25th anniversary Mickey, because it was the 25th anniversary of the marathon, and that's the color silver, and it's Mickey's race. So I kind of did a little silver sorcerer Mickey with a 25 on my chest, and it turned out so cute. And then I made the RunDisney website main page for the marathon, which just was so cool to see that and have my picture up there. So that one's also kind of very special to me. Next question is tips and tricks to do your best. They are worried about not finishing in time. I would say just stick with your training and make sure that your training is keeping you under that 16-minute pace that is required. I really believe in the run walk method. So if you're not doing that, maybe give that a try, because I think that will definitely guarantee you to finish in time. It gives your body the rest it needs while also running. I wouldn't be able to do it without it. Also, get yourself a Garmin watch. I have the Garmin Forerunner 235. It keeps track of everything. It keeps track of my current pace, my last miles pace. You can kind of set it to what you want to know. It sets all my intervals for me, so it just vibrates when I need to run or when I need to walk. It's much better than having a phone or like the Nike app I know people run with. That's very annoying. It also drains your phone battery, which I do not want happening to me. They're pricey, but definitely an investment, and fully keeps me on track, and I know exactly what is happening in my race, and I know how much time I have at all times. You can also sign up for runner tracking, and it's usually for friends and family, but I actually signed myself up for it, and you get text messages at every station where they take your time. So it's usually at like the 5K, 10K, 15K, and it'll text the person what their time is and a prediction of, based on their pace so far, what time they're going to finish in. And that's really helpful for me too, to kind of figure out, okay, I'll probably go a little bit slower than that, or maybe I can pick up the speed and go a little faster than that, and I'll have an estimated time so that I know that I'm on track to finish. Next question is for someone who's new at running. What is my best tip? Keep practicing. It gets easier the more you do it, or not even necessarily easier. I don't think I'm necessarily faster, but it gets less scary. I'm not as worried about getting out there and doing it. I know that I can. The next long run that you do, now you know that you can make it that distance. All runs are going to be different too. Sometimes you're going to have a really really bad 6-mile run, and sometimes you're gonna have an incredible 14-mile run. Just know that every day is different, and as long as you just keep trying and doing your best, it's gonna get easier and you're gonna feel more experienced, just like anything in life. Next question, what are some things that spectators can do? My mom did the cheer squad last January. It was the first time she ever got to see me run, which was really special. I did the half marathon. She first went to Main Street and saw me run down Main Street, which was so magical, and I totally started crying. It was amazing. Running down Main Street is already so magical, and then having my mom there getting to cheer me on was just the best feeling in the world. And then I know some people, I think, try to go to one of the highway stretches and also spectate from there. She was a little bit worried about timing. She was also on a scooter, so she was worried about how to get there as easy on a scooter. So she just went straight to the finish line and hung out there and found a really good spot to watch me on the bleachers. I think she had a really nice time. They gave her an awesome blanket, which I'm so jealous of. It's like waterproof on one side, so you can sit on it if you need to, and it also blocks the wind, but then it's fleece on the other side. And I think they gave her like a little clacker, and then I made her a sign to hold. I think she made a lot of friends with a bunch of the other people spectating, so she really enjoyed it, and I think it was well worth the money. They also have food trucks and coffee trucks and everything at the finish line, so there's stuff to do until your racer gets there. And make sure, like I said earlier, which I signed myself up for runner tracking, but my mom signed up too, and she was able to see exactly where I was at all times. So then she knew if she needed to be at a certain spot in order to see me. Next question is, what are the mental challenges of the race? Whew, there are many. If you are doing a long distance, especially a marathon, you start to go a little insane. But it's interesting to know yourself at that deep level of insanity. I think my biggest thing is just keeping my mind in check, putting everything back into perspective. It all feels longer than it is. It feels harder than it is. If you really just try and mentally check yourself, like, hey, is this hurting as much as my mind is making me think it's hurting? And usually, unless it's an injury, it's not. And so you can kind of be like, okay, calm down, you're being dramatic. So just try and like mentally check yourself, and you'll feel better during it. So those are all the questions you guys had for me. I hope I answered them well enough for you. I would love to keep answering your questions. Like I said, I take my experience for granted, and I really just want to help you guys, because I do remember my first couple and I was so scared and so nervous. And now there's really nothing to be scared of, especially if you follow all of my tips and tricks. I've pretty much gotten this whole thing down to a routine that works well for me. And the more you guys do these races, the more you're gonna find the routine that works for you, and it's all just gonna feel old hat, and you're gonna feel like the wisest RunDisney racer. So make sure you're following Crowned Athletics on Instagram for the next time that we do these little Q&As, and you can be a part of it. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I am so very grateful. Make sure you subscribe, and always wear your crown with pride. Bye!